All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. We're going to go ahead and dive into it. Thank you for taking time out of your busy workday to join us for this presentation. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the coaches with the Intel Vitality Program. This is your Women's Wellness Series training considerations at every age. We've got a part 1 this week. Part 2 will be kicking off next week. Both sessions will be recorded, so if you miss one or the other, or you miss any parts of this, you will have the opportunity to review those recordings. I don't have anything after this, so if we want to stay on and have some extended Q&A, I'm also happy to stay on here until we get all those questions answered. But we will try to get through the content because we've got quite a bit, as you will notice. So today we're going to be focusing on life cycle part 1. So really kind of focusing on, everything from, menstrual cycles to specific hormonal conditions, and even looking at pre and peri postnatal. So we're going to go over general guidelines for women, monthly hormonal changes and training, the impact that can have. We're also going to talk about ways to actually leverage our hormonal fluctuations to our benefit. We're going to talk briefly on hormonal conditions such as PCOS and endometriosis. How does that affect our training? What are the training recommendations to help with managing those symptoms? We'll get into that. Pre, peri, and postnatal. We'll also talk about some other factors that may influence our training as well. And then we're going to provide y'all with some next steps and resources. So first thing we're going to talk about here, we're going to dig into is just general guidelines for women. So when it comes to women compared to men, we have lower testosterone levels. So building lean muscle, maintaining a lean body composition can be a bit of a challenge for us. Women have higher estrogen levels. Estrogen promotes fat deposition, promotes fat storage. We don't build muscle as easily. So all of that can make it a bit more challenging for us to be able to maintain a healthy body composition throughout lifespan. One of the primary guidelines or recommendations for women is to keep in mind that physical activity is important and beneficial for both our mind and our body. So not only do we get great physical benefits, but there's a ton of research that shows that managing stress, easing anxiety, even helping to reduce depressive symptoms, all can come from regular physical activity. So there's great mental benefits for us as well as physical. Now, as far as specific guidelines go, women are encouraged to get at least 2.5 hours each week of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity. So 2.5 hours equals about 150 minutes per week. So 150 minutes per week is the guideline. And notice that says moderate intensity. So this is not super high intensity. This is not boot camps. This is not HIIT classes. And it also says physical activity, not exercise. So physical activity, moderate intensity aerobic physical activity can look like many different things. So it might sound like a lot of time, but when you break it down and look at what it actually consists of, things like walking, going for a walk with your dog, spending time with your family outdoors, playing with your kids in the backyard, doing chores around your household, tackling the laundry and that to-do list around the house, spending time outside. We're getting into springtime now. It's a perfect time to be out there doing that yard work, cleaning up the yard, doing some gardening, doing some planting. So all of that physical activity would help to count towards that 2.5 hours a week. So if you want to go to the gym and get on the spin bike or do that Peloton class or jump on the treadmill, go run that 5K, those things are great to do. But just keep in mind that other activities will count towards this goal as well. So we don't have to be quite so exclusive in terms of what we consider that aerobic physical activity. Muscle strengthening activities are also encouraged for women because, again, we have less muscle mass and we're more likely to lose muscle mass throughout our lifespan. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into part 2 next week of this series. But for women, it's really important that we include some sort of muscle strengthening. So this can look like strength training. This can look like playing a sport. We want to hit all the major muscle groups in our body at least 2 days per week, okay? So we're getting that aerobic activity, and then we're getting that structured strength training. This part is really critical for us. As women, we tend to lean more towards the cardio, less so towards the weights. It's very important for women. Why? Well, because strength training helps us to target a higher caloric burn throughout our workout. We also, because similar to like our male peers, we have lower metabolism, we have a lower metabolic rate. Our resting metabolic rate isn't as high as theirs. We don't burn as many calories naturally throughout the day. So targeting a higher caloric burn during our workout through combination of strength training as well as through volume. So really managing our work to rest ratios. Most of us have very busy lives. We don't have a lot of time to work out. We want to make that workout as effective as we possibly can. We want to be efficient with our time. So this is where opting for things like supersets and circuit type workouts can be really beneficial. So a superset, if you're not familiar, is where you do 2 different exercises back to back that target different muscle groups. So for example, doing an upper body movement such as a seated row, you do your reps, you do your timed intervals, whatever it might be, and then you immediately switch to a lower body exercise such as a goblet squat or a lunge. And then you immediately go back to your upper body movement. So alternating between different muscle groups, reducing the rest or the downtime allows us to just pack more movement into our workouts, which is a more efficient way for us to be able to burn the calories that we need to, burn the fat that we need to help with our body composition. Opting for compound multi-joint movements instead of muscle isolations. Bicep curls are not going to burn a lot of calories. Your deadlifts, your squats, those big full body compound movements are going to be ideal. And also making sure that we're targeting full body throughout our workouts. So not just going to the gym and spending an hour doing arms. Like some of our male peers do, okay? That's not going to get us ladies where we want to go. So really just kind of trying to think about ways that you can be more effective and efficient. This is where group exercise classes are very popular because they will do a lot of this for you. Timed circuits, again, targeting different muscle groups, full body approach there. A lot of times women shy away from doing strength training out of fear that it's going to make us bulky or we're going to have too big of muscles. Again, as women, we don't have the testosterone levels that men do. It's very challenging for us to build muscles. Those pictures of women bodybuilders that you see, they're either spending 3 hours a day in the gym or they're injecting some sort of anabolic steroids to get that physique. Okay. So for the majority of us, based on the amount of time that we spend in the gym with our lives and everything else that we have going on, we're just not ever going to reach that level where we get that bulky. And also remember, this is your journey. So it's very personalized. What you like to do for your workout or what works for you may not work for other women and vice versa. And that's okay. So being open to trying new ideas is very key for us on our fitness journey. Now, when we get into hormonal changes throughout monthly span, so really we can kind of divide our menstrual cycle, our monthly menstrual cycle into these 2 different phases. So you have the follicular phase, which is everything from day 1 of our period all the way up to ovulation. And then we have the luteal phase, which comes after ovulation into that next menstrual cycle. So during the follicular phase, we have high levels of estrogen and lower levels of progesterone. We have improved mood, improved skin, and bone health. Estrogen has some really fantastic benefits for our bone health. So if our estrogen levels are higher, this is a really key time for bone remodeling to be happening. Peak in estrogen and testosterone can lead to increases in confidence, performance, self-esteem. It also helps to, as we'll get into on the next slide, increases our energy levels. So this is really the follicular phase, that beginning part of our menstrual cycle is where we can really leverage some of these hormonal benefits to get enhanced performance with our training. During the luteal phase, we experience decreases in luteinizing hormone and estrogen levels. And you can see all the different lines there for the different hormones and how they're all fluctuating throughout the month. Premenstrual syndrome, PMS, happens during this phase. Irritability, negative mood, increased appetite, tiredness, sleep disruption, feeling of fatigue, all of that happens during this phase. Decrease in hormones may cause cramping, mood swings, headaches, lower back pain, or just muscle pain in general. Luteal phase, we typically don't feel like ourselves as much as we do during our follicular phase. So that can really kind of be a kick to the motivation. It's hard to find that motivation when you're feeling tired and you've got muscle pain and a headache. So all things to think of. The good news is that we can actually leverage these different phases to our benefit. So during the follicular phase, when the estrogen and testosterone are at their peak, positive effect on mood, energy, and strength. Women feel stronger usually during their follicular phase. Body is primed to maximize hard training efforts. So this is where we can PR our 5K time. We can PR our deadlift. We're going to see increases in, our squat, our bench press. All of that is going to go up typically during this phase. This is when we feel our best. Due to the hormone levels, we have an increased ability to access stored carbohydrates, which are the primary fuel that we use during anaerobic exercise or specifically strength training. So our ability to break down and mobilize fuels helps to add to that enhanced performance benefit here. It's easier to build and maintain our muscle during this phase. We can handle higher intensity of volume and exercise. More technically challenging movements. Usually we have our minds feel a little bit clearer during this phase. So if part of your training involves learning a new task or learning new skills, the follicular phase is the best time to really be able to make progress there. And recovery may be a little bit longer in the early follicular phase, but in general, we enjoy better sleep and better recovery during our follicular phase. Luteal phase, decrease in estrogen, experience PMS symptoms, decrease in muscle building capacity and power output. We don't recover from our strength workouts or from exercise in general as well during our luteal phase. Increase in RPE, rate of perceived exertion. So if you were to do the exact same workout during your luteal phase that you previously did during your follicular phase, same movements, same weight, same reps, sets, rest period, everything identical, that same exact workout is going to feel more challenging during your luteal phase. That does not mean that you've gotten weaker. It just means that your hormonal profile doesn't support that higher intensity or that higher power output. For performance benefits, this is a really great time for us to focus more on active recovery. It's a great opportunity to give yourself permission to lower the intensity of your cardio and your strength workouts. Great time to focus on body weight exercises. Go to that Pilates class that you've always been meaning to. Try out that yoga that you've been putting off. This is a great phase to focus on lower intensity and give ourselves more recovery. Listen to your body and don't beat yourself up. Give yourself permission to take it a bit easier during this phase. Save the PRs for the follicular phase. All right, now we're going to get into talking about training recommendations for some of these hormonal conditions. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I work with so many women within Intel and outside of Intel in my time spent as a coach. This PCOS affects a large number of women. It's a condition that affects how a woman's ovaries work. Basically, it creates these ovarian sacs or fluid-filled sacs that surround the eggs. Ovaries can become enlarged, characterized by excess androgen levels, so excess male hormones. So testosterone levels can be higher than normal for women, and this can cause some unique physical adaptations, such as excessive facial hair or excessive body hair. It's very common for women with PCOS to get hair like on their arms. Hormones also impact the way our body deposits fat. So women with PCOS are more likely to store body fat around their abdomen. Most women, normal fat patterning is fat deposit around hips, thighs, and glute areas. Women with PCOS are more likely to experience abdominal fat, and that's due to the elevated male hormones. It can also cause acne. So cystic acne along your chin and jawline are very common for women with PCOS, as well as acne on the rest of your body, your chest, your back, your shoulders. Irregular menstrual cycles are very common for women with PCOS. If you do any research at all on PCOS, if this is a condition you deal with, or if you have female family members or friends that deal with this, one of the primary things that women with PCOS are encouraged to do is to participate in regular exercise, 150 minutes. That 2.5 hours a week, that 150 minutes, that is a very common recommendation that you're going to see repeated throughout. So exercise and diet interventions are encouraged. Improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness helps control insulin levels. Controlling and managing insulin and glucose is key towards being able to lose body fat. Improvements in BMI, body mass index, and just overall well-being, which can influence various health factors. So PCOS, any kind of hormonal imbalance for individuals, it typically makes people with this condition feel very alienated from their own bodies, and they feel like they don't necessarily have control. And getting involved in exercise and making improvements, doing the things that you are able to do rather than focusing on the things you're not able to do, this can be a really great way for women to feel empowered and feel like they are taking back control of their body. So it's not just about the physical benefits. It's not just about looking good in our clothes. It's also about the mental and emotional component that goes with this. Endometriosis, another very common condition that a lot of women I work with have. It's a condition that causes tissue similar to the lining of the uterus to actually grow on the outside of your uterus. Women with endometriosis typically have very heavy and oftentimes very painful periods. The effects of movement on PCOS is still ongoing with the research due to a wide variety of severity of this condition as well as individual differences. It's not necessarily easy for us to find a one-size-fits-all solution. Some of the benefits, though, do include mental well-being. Exercise is a great way to reduce stress levels. Oftentimes, the pain intensity will decrease with regular exercise. Regular movement helps prevent other major health problems, so having that peace of mind that we're taking care of our health is beneficial. Regular exercise lowers the amount of estrogen in the body. So when we exercise, we actually use those sex hormones, the estrogen and the testosterone, during exercise, and we essentially clear some of those hormones from our body. So with repeated bouts of exercise, using that estrogen, using that testosterone, you're going to clear some of that from your body, and you're going to, over time, you can have more regular or more normal hormone levels. Strength training is fantastic for strengthening the pelvic floor muscles, which can lead to reduced pain during menstrual cycles. Daily exercises such as walking, swimming, and strength training are encouraged for endometriosis. Again, go with that 150 minutes per week as your general guideline. Very high intensity exercise may actually increase the symptoms and make it more severe. So women with endometriosis are encouraged to avoid HIIT training, avoid boot camp, high intensity style workouts. Take your intensity down a little bit. If you have endometriosis, you'll actually get better results and see better improvement to your symptoms with moderate intensity. Speak with your primary healthcare physician. Again, because this is such a wide variety of symptoms and it affects everyone differently, this is where having a good relationship with your PCP or your OBGYN and work with them, get help and support that you need. Having a regular doctor that you work with is very critical for a lot of these things. All right, now we're going to transition. We're going to get into the pre, peri, and postnatal. So what you're going to see with peri and postnatal, very similar recommendations. Again, 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise per week. So getting that activity in, aiming for 30 minutes a day, most days of the week is a good way to go. Strength training is encouraged during and post, maintaining our muscle mass. When you go through labor and delivery, you're going to need a lot of endurance and a lot of strength throughout that delivery and throughout your recovery. So making sure that our bodies are strong and healthy is very critical for women during pregnancy. Continue a fitness routine for as long as you feel comfortable. They used to recommend for women to reduce activity levels during pregnancy. The recommendations have changed. They're saying now stay active as long as you feel comfortable, unless you are advised specifically by your doctor to not engage activities. Try to continue on and do basically the same things that you were doing before you're pregnant with a little bit of modification. If you are new to fitness, you are allowed to start a new workout routine. They used to tell women, if you were active before, you can continue being active during your pregnancy. But if you weren't active before, pregnancy is not a good time to start a new fitness routine. They've changed that recommendation. This is something that's different now. So the research and the literature that's out there tells us that it is actually safe for women to start a new fitness routine during pregnancy. Focus on shorter sessions and then build up gradually over time. It's a great time for you to get into a fitness routine because you are under close care and supervision with a doctor. It's also a good opportunity to work with a coach or have a little bit of guidance so that you can make sure that you're doing things appropriately. But even if you weren't active before, you are able to start a new fitness routine during your pregnancy. One of the reasons why some of the guidance has changed here a little bit is due to increases in GDM, gestational diabetes mellitus. Due to fluctuating hormone levels during pregnancy, oftentimes women have higher glucose levels. Higher glucose means higher insulin, leads to insulin insensitivity, and what we call lifestyle diabetes or type 2 diabetes, or in this case for pregnant women, it's called gestational diabetes. Impact the health of the mother and the unborn child. So there's an increased health risk with having GDM during pregnancy. Hyperglycemia, so elevated blood sugar, higher risk for type 2 diabetes. Exercise has been proven to be safe and effective for clearing that high blood sugar and reducing blood sugar levels and improving our insulin sensitivity during pregnancy. For postnatal, a recommendation is return to regular exercise once cleared by a doctor. Start slow, increase gradually, and take your time. I think there's been sort of a trend in maybe previous years. Women felt a lot of pressure to snap back after their pregnancy. It's kind of referred to in some circles as snapback culture of, telling women you got to get back to that pre-baby body as soon as you can. And you've seen women now in recent years sort of rejecting the snapback culture, which I think is amazing. Women allowing themselves time to recover. You've seen it with a lot of celebrities that post-pregnancy, they're not dropping the baby weight immediately afterwards. And I think that's fantastic. Give your body the time that it needs to heal and recover. Get back into it when you feel ready to. Exercising postpartum has been linked to lower levels of postpartum depression. So if that's something that you're concerned about, getting some regular physical activity can definitely help with that. Do it for your health. Do it because you enjoy it. Don't do it necessarily because you're feeling pressure to look exactly the way that you did immediately after having a baby. Okay, it's just not realistic. Give yourself permission to take your time. Recommended activities during pregnancy. Moderate intensity exercise, walking, aquatic exercise, water aerobics, lower impact swimming, all of those are fantastic to do. Stationary biking, yoga and Pilates, muscle strengthening, lower impact aerobics. Exercises to avoid, obviously contact sports, not a good idea during this time of our life. Activities with a risk of falling. So if you normally go outside and ride on your road bike, doing a stationary bike is a better option. Hot yoga, we want to avoid extreme heat, extreme cold during this time. And then scuba diving and skydiving. I don't know why those were in the literature. I guess somebody tried it, and really we just want to try to avoid things that are going to put us at risk or may be slightly dangerous. Discontinuing exercise if you experiencing any abdominal pain, if you have vaginal bleeding, regular painful contractions, if you're experiencing any leakage, if you see any amniotic fluid, discontinue immediately. Dizziness or headaches, if you're feeling lightheaded throughout the workout or having a headache afterwards, discontinue exercise, talk to your doctor. And also chest pain is a big one. So if you are experiencing any of those, discontinue the exercise, consult with your physician and let them know about it and see. It might just be something as simple as we need to reduce the intensity or find a different modality, but working closely with your doctor can be very helpful here. All right, hormonal birth control. We're going to touch on this very quickly just because a lot of women take hormonal birth control and we get a lot of questions about this. This is a very individualized process. Different women are going to respond differently to different types of birth control. So again, this is one where we really encourage you to work closely with your physician or your OB/GYN to find what's best for you. Birth control alters the hormone levels in your body. Basically, it elevates your hormone levels slightly, tricks your body into thinking that you're already pregnant. So you don't ovulate, which if you don't ovulate, you can't get pregnant. May cause mood changes, sleep problems, weight gain. Most of the weight gain that we do experience is in the form of water weight. The higher estrogen levels make us retain fluids. Some of the benefits of hormonal birth control is that it can help to clear acne, decrease severe cramps, So a lot of the severe cramps and pain associated with things like PCOS and endometriosis, a lot of times women can experience relief from that by getting on some form of hormonal birth control, can cause women to have lighter periods and the ability to predict the timing of your period. Scientific consensus is that birth control may have a small but negative effect on muscle growth and recovery. So there is some literature that suggests that birth control makes it a bit more challenging for women to be able to build muscle. But again, everyone responds a little bit differently. So for you, it might just be a matter of finding a different type of birth control if you do feel like you're not building muscle or you're not getting the results. Again, talk to your doctor, find what works best for you. No commonly known direct impact on exercise may impact our mood and our motivation. A lot of women have heightened emotions while on hormonal birth control and have fluctuations in their emotions, which can impact just how we feel in general. Birth control typically does not necessarily make us gain body fat. It does, however, oftentimes can cause increases in appetite. So that increase in appetite is what contributes to weight gain. Real quick, we're going to talk on hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. So thyroid issues can cause the early onset of menopause. Symptoms may be actually mistaken for menopause. So lack of menstruation, hot flashes, insomnia, mood swings. Your thyroid is a very important gland in your body that helps control your metabolism, your muscle function, your brain development, bone maintenance, very important processes in our body. Hyperthyroidism is an overactive thyroid characterized by anxiety, irritability, lack of sleep, sensitivity to heat, and neck swelling from having an enlarged thyroid. Hypothyroidism is an underactive thyroid characterized by feeling of being tired, weight gain, unable to tolerate cold temperatures, constipation, muscle aches, and weakness. Can make it a challenge to exercise due to fatigue and muscle pain. Low impact aerobic activity and strength training can ease symptoms and boost overall physical and mental health. So taking that intensity down. If you're concerned about your thyroid, ask your doctor to test it. You can test your thyroid through a simple blood test. However, they won't necessarily routinely check for this unless you ask for it. Okay, so check with your doctor if you're concerned about your thyroid. Resources to help support y'all. We do have the Exos app. We have live and on-demand classes, strength training, mobility, lots of great options for you based on your goals or reason for exercising. You do have the ability to consult one-on-one with a coach, work with your coach on a regular basis, work with a dietitian on a regular basis. All of it is complimentary to you as Intel employees. And then lots of great mental wellness tools. Headspace, there is a meditation section within the Exos app as well. And then also connecting with your local WIN group. Viva Engage, there's tons of WIN group pages on there. So connecting with other women makes us feel a little bit better, less alone at times. All right, so I did go 2 minutes over. So my apologies for that. Again, if anyone had to hop off early, I will be sending out this recording. Thank you all. I will now open it up for questions. So if you have a question, go ahead, put it there in the chat box. Put it in the Q&A. This was an excellent and informative presentation. Where can I find the recording and slides? I will send y'all the slides when I'm done with this. I can also give you the access to the recording as well too. So I'll include that in the follow-up email. So if you were registered either through the app or through Meetup, you will get those in your follow-up. Thanks, Carla. Appreciate the compliment there. That was a lot of information. Just word vomited all over you guys. Any more questions? Like I said, I'm free. Oh, we will post on the YouTube channel. Awesome. Yes, we do have a YouTube channel as well. So I can send you all the link to the YouTube channel in those follow-up emails. There's some other really great content on there as well. We've got some samples of our classes and some other webinars that we've previously done. So great landing page for a lot of our content there. Excellent. Any more questions, comments, concerns? I'm finding it hard to get motivated for strength training. Cardio, no problem. Any favorites? Yeah, very common thing. As women, we tend to be more endurance-based. Cardio tends to come a little bit easier for us. As humans, we like to do the things that we're better at. Strength training can feel really challenging sometimes to get into. One of the best recommendations for doing strength training, especially if it's not something you enjoy doing, having a workout partner or participating in a class. Something where you don't have to take the time to think about your workout. You don't have to figure out how many reps to do, what muscles to work, which movements to do, how many sets, what load do I do. If you walk into a strength class, all of that's going to be taken care of for you. So reducing some of the mental burden can make it a little bit easier. When it comes to strength classes, I like doing Metabolic Challenge. Metabolic Challenge is one of our Exos branded classes. You can find them in your fitness centers and in the app. It's a combination of strength and cardio. So it's a lot of circuit type workouts. It's higher rep, higher volume. Your heart rate's going to be elevated. So if you are kind of a cardio junkie and you like that sweat equity, you're going to get a good sweat in a metabolic class. And then we kind of sneak the strength training in with you. So it doesn't necessarily feel like a traditional strength class. So metabolic is one of my favorites. I also like going to the gym and just loading up a barbell and doing some deadlifts, doing some squats, doing those bigger full body, multi-joint compound movements. I also like to track my strength training. For me, it's very satisfying to see that weight go up over time. So sometimes implementing a little bit of strategy or, testing beforehand, see what where your strength levels are, go through a structured program and then retest and see some improvement. Seeing improvement is a really good way to stay motivated. But yeah, check out any of the strength classes within Exos, the total body strength. Check out the metabolic classes, especially if you like cardio. Metabolic is a great way to go. Oh, you're welcome, Marissa. Yeah, I used to be predominantly a runner. For years, running was my primary form of exercise. And then I got into strength training because I had some recurring injuries and I had to do some strengthening to try to prevent those injuries. And then over time now, if you ask me to go for a run, it's like, I'd rather go to the gym and lift weights. So it is possible for our preferences to change over time. It just kind of requires finding the right things or sometimes seeing the results can really make a difference for us. All right. Any more questions, folks? Feel free to keep putting them in the chat box there. If there's anything else that maybe you wanted to discuss in more detail, I'm happy to do so. There we go, Q&A. The walking count as aerobic? Yes. Walking does count as aerobic. Walking would be more, brisk walking, you're going to have your heart rate elevated a little bit more, so that might be moderate intensity. But in general, it's going to be more of a lower to moderate form of aerobic exercise or aerobic activity. So yeah, when it comes to getting that 150 minutes per week, your walking does count. Yeah, try to get those steps in, folks. All right, any more questions? Again, everyone's fitness journey is going to be very individualized, very personalized. It's really about finding what works for you, what you enjoy. So this is where I highly encourage folks, if you haven't downloaded the Exos app and scheduled a one-on-one with one of our coaches, I highly recommend you to do that. I am one of the coaches in the Exos app, so you're welcome to choose me as your coach. If anyone wants to schedule a one-on-one with me, I'm more than happy to connect with y'all.